Okay, guys. So what I want you to do as well, if you go on to it's the Royal Society of Chemistry is the name of the group, and what I want you to do, I'm going to get you to work with this periodic table as well. And it's actually quite interesting. I'll actually put in a link that you can just click on and it'll bring you directly to the periodic table. So if we have a look here, so we started talking about the periodic table, and this group here, they have this, it's pretty good. So what it is it's an interactive periodic table. So you can see here we have the different groups. Now when you hover over each group, it'll bring up some information about each of the elements. Now some of the stuff we haven't kind of covered, but some of it we have. So if we have a look here at lithium, now what you can do is you can actually it tells you all kinds of useful information. Like, so if you hover over lithium, for example, the supply risk is high supply risk. So it's in very short supply. It's not easy to get, like for us to get our hands on lithium. So what we can do then as well is if you click in, so you can go into each element, and when you click into the element, it brings you into this page here. And what it does is it gives you loads of information about the individual element. And it does this for every element that's on the periodic table. So it was discovered in 1817. This was the guy who discovered it. The origin of the name. So this actually tells you the origin of the name. Now, a lot of the names in relation to the periodic table are Greek names. So the name is derived from the Greek lithios, meaning stone. Okay, so that's kind of where it's come from. So some facts, so it tells you it's a group 1 element. It's in the second period, so we've talked about groups and periods. So S block we haven't really talked about that. Its atomic number is 3, so we know that it has 3 protons within its nucleus. So at 20 degrees, it's actually a solid. So its electronic configuration, we see here that, so it has 1 electron in its outer shell. And it gives loads of other information, like things like melting point and boiling point. So in order for it to melt, you have to be up on 180 degrees Celsius. And its boiling point, in which it turns from a liquid into a gas. So this is when it'll turn into a liquid. So if we look here, we can see that just generally at room temperature it's going to be a solid. But in order to turn it into a liquid, you'd have to raise the temperature up to 180 degrees. And then to actually turn it into a gas, you're talking about up on 1342 degrees. So that's very, very hot. Like, think about a boiling kettle is 100 degrees. So this is up in the thousands. It gives its density, its atomic mass. We haven't really talked about isotopes, and you don't really need to worry about that. But what you can actually do is you can go in here, and there's loads of useful information in here. So there's podcasts about it. So you can actually go in here and you can listen to the podcast on lithium. So if you click on it, and it'll bring you into it, and it'll tell you about it here. If you want to read about the podcast, you can go in and read about it here. There's some videos. So you can see here there's a video about lithium, so we'll just play this. Okay, so we'll just wait until it comes on.
So it's lithium. Lithium's the top of the alkali metals, the lightest of all of them. It's very, very reactive. We use it a lot in organic chemistry to activate carbon-carbon bond formation. But you can see here it's a very, very dark coloured metal. It's actually really nice and shiny if you cut it fresh. But it reacts with nitrogen in the air to form lithium nitride really, really quite quickly.
So lithium is the lightest metal. It's a very light element. It will float on water, though of course it does react with water as well.
So we're going to take a small sample, and again we're going to see what happens when we react it with water. Okay?
It has had a number of quite important applications in the last few years. Some of you will know that lithium is used treating what is now called in the bipolar disorder or manic depression.
The lithium itself is stored under oil to stop it reacting with the air and also with water. So we're just going to clean off all of the oil now before popping it into a sample of water.
And in fact, I think, though I'm not a great expert on pop songs, there's at least one pop song called Lithium based on this.
Okay. So I'm not sure what the quality of that, how it'll show up in the recording. Okay, but there's videos in there. They're very interesting. You can go in and you can watch it, and it'll tell you an awful lot about the element. So what I want you to do. So let's go back out here. So, and then like if you like, just you can go in here and you can have a look. So there's podcasts, there's all different kinds of resources in relation to it. So basically it's like a one-stop shop for everything that you want to know about any of the elements that are on the periodic table. So what I want everyone to do, I want you to go on. So we've talked about group 1 elements, which are all these guys here, and group 2. And we also looked at group 7, which are these, the halogens, and then we also talked about the noble gases, group 8. So I want you to go in and just look at, look at the videos, and like have a listen to the podcasts for as many of these as you can. Okay, so just go in and have a look. And what it'll really do is it'll bring home, you know, the idea that like this is like these periodic table, the elements, it makes up everything that's around us all the time. Now, what I want you to do then is I want you to pick one element, and I want you to prepare a PowerPoint presentation on it. So just taking you can take the information that you've got, that you can get here on within each of them, and I want you to do a PowerPoint presentation, and I want you to kind of talk about things like the history of the element, what the element is used for, talk about like what group it's part of, its location on the periodic table, talk about the electronic structure of the element, and look at all of that information that we've talked about. So if you prepare a PowerPoint presentation and if you send that on to me, that would be great. But what I would encourage you to do is spend a bit of time in here and go into each of the elements and just go in, for example, and have a look, look at the history, have a look at the history of it. So just read up about the history of the period of the particular elements. You know, you can go in here, some of this information might not mean a lot to you at the moment, but things like, you know, the videos and the podcasts, go in and have a look and see what you can find within there. So just do a little bit of research, and then I want you to prepare that PowerPoint presentation and send that on to me. You can send it on to me if you get it done today, that's brilliant. If you don't, you can just send it on to me during the week whenever you get a chance to finish it off. Okay guys, so that's the task I'm going to set for you today, just in addition to the lesson that I've put up. So thank you for listening.